It is January 2026, and if you look at the current gaming landscape, it's easy to feel a sense of scale exhaustion. We are surrounded by procedurally generated universes and live service titles that demand hundreds of hours of our lives. In this climate, returning to the rain-drenched, claustrophobic halls of Batman, Arkham Asylum isn't just a trip down memory lane, it's a necessary recalibration. It reminds us that a game doesn't need to be 100 square miles to be vast. It just needs to be deep. When Rocksteady released this in 2009, they weren't just making a superhero game. They were building a psychological pressure cooker. Playing it today, the brilliance of that decision radiates through every cracked tile and rusted grate of the island. The story begins with a deceptively simple premise. Batman is delivering the Joker back to Arkham Asylum. But the atmosphere tells a different story. The way the Joker laughs, too easily, too comfortably, as he's wheeled through the security checkpoints, sets a tone of impending doom.
Warden, something's not right. I'm going with him.
Within 10 minutes, the asylum isn't a prison anymore. It's a trap, and you are the one locked inside. What makes the narrative work so well in 2026 is its thematic density. This isn't just a stop the bad guy plot. It's an exploration of the thin line between the masked vigilante and the lunatics he locks away. Throughout the night, the Joker uses the asylum's intercom system to dismantle Batman's psyche, turning the entire island into a twisted stage for a variety show where the punchline is always death. The lore is woven into the very fabric of the environment. While modern games often bury their world building in tedious menus, Asylum invites you to find it. The patient interview tapes scattered throughout the wings are chilling. Hearing a pre-mutation Waylon Jones, Killer Croc, or the clinical, detached voice of Dr. Penelope Young as she descends into her own ethical madness provides a layer of detective work that feels earned. You aren't just reading text, you're eavesdropping on the history of a tragedy. In 2026, we've seen dozens of games try to copy the Arkham-style combat, but few have captured the weight of it. There is a specific tactile crunch to the combat here that remains unsurpassed. It's a rhythmic system that rewards patience over button mashing. When Batman connects a strike, you feel the momentum. When you counter a thug's pipe swing, the camera shifts just enough to emphasize the brutality of the redirection. But the real magic lies in how the gameplay evolves. You start the night as a formidable brawler, but as you unlock the explosive gel, the line launcher, and the Ultra Batclaw, you transform into an elemental force. The Predator encounters are where the game truly realizes the Batman fantasy. Perched on a stone gargoyle, looking down at a room full of armed, terrified henchmen, you realize that you aren't playing a stealth game. You're playing a horror game where you are the monster. Watching the enemy's heart rates rise in detective mode as you pick them off one by one, hanging them from the rafters or bursting through a floor grate, is a loop that never gets old. It's a game of psychological warfare. The map design of Arkham Island is a masterwork of Metroidvania architecture. It is a series of interconnected hubs: intensive treatment, the medical facility, the botanical gardens, that feel like distinct circles of hell. As you progress, the island changes. Poison Ivy's Titan-fueled spores begin to choke the hallways, and the Spirit of Arkham tablets provide a ghostly narration of the island's dark origins. This sense of progression is physical. You'll see a breakable wall in the first hour that you can't bypass. And when you finally return 3 hours later with the explosive gel, that small victory of opening the path feels more rewarding than any level-up notification in a modern RPG. The boss encounters, specifically the Scarecrow sequences, are legendary for a reason. These segments break the third-person perspective, dragging Batman and the player into a 2.5D side-scrolling nightmare. They are a brilliant use of gameplay to represent a mental breakdown. They force you to hide from a giant, godlike personification of fear, turning the invincible Batman into a small, vulnerable child. It's a pacing masterstroke that prevents the combat-heavy middle act from feeling repetitive. Even in 2026, the audiovisual package holds up because it leans into an aesthetic rather than just realism. The lighting is heavy and expressionistic. Shadows aren't just a lack of light. They are thick, velvety spaces where Batman belongs. The character designs, while a bit bulky by modern standards, carry a comic book exaggerated energy that fits the Gothic setting. And then there is the voice acting. For many, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill are the definitive Batman and Joker.
You wanted?
All patients should avoid contact with prisoners from Blackgate Prison Facility. Their presence...
What's he doing?
Stay where you are.
Get a flashlight! Get a light on him!
Presence in our institution is temporary.
What? Don't you trust me?
In 2026, their performances carry an even greater weight. Hamill's Joker is a terrifying blend of whimsical and homicidal, while Conroy provides a grounded, stoic center to the madness. Their chemistry is the heartbeat of the game. Every time Joker's voice crackles over the radio to mock your progress, it feels personal. So why should you play Batman Arkham Asylum in 2026? Because it is unapologetically focused. It doesn't want to sell you a battle pass. It doesn't want you to log in daily. It wants to tell you a story about a very bad night in a very bad place. It's a game that respects your intelligence, allowing you to solve the Riddler's environmental puzzles without holding your hand. And it rewards your curiosity with deep-cut lore from the DC universe. It's the rarest kind of game, one where every mechanic, the combat, the stealth, the gadgets, and the story, is pulling in the same direction. It's a dark, atmospheric, and incredibly satisfying journey into the heart of madness. Whether you're a lifelong Batman fan or someone who just appreciates tight, intentional game design, Arkham Asylum remains a towering achievement that time hasn't managed to touch. If 2026 gaming feels like a loud, chaotic street corner, Arkham Asylum is a quiet, dimly lit room with a single, perfectly told ghost story. You owe it to yourself to listen. So as the sun finally rises over the jagged skyline of Arkham Island, we're left with one inescapable truth. Even in 2026, Arkham Asylum isn't just a relic of the past. It's a blueprint for the future. In an industry currently obsessed with more, Rocksteady's masterpiece remains the ultimate argument for better. It's a game that understands that the cowl isn't just about the gadgets or the punches. It's about the atmosphere, the psychological weight of the cowl, and the sheer, unfiltered terror of a night spent in the world's most dangerous house. Whether you're returning for the 10th time to hear the legendary performances of Conroy and Hamill, or you're stepping through those rusted gates for the very first time, Arkham still has the power to pull you in and never let go. But I want to hear from you guys. Where do you stand on the best Arkham game debate in 2026? Does the focused, gothic atmosphere of Asylum still beat out the massive open world of City or the technical wizardry of Knight? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'll be down there dodging batarangs and reading through them. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the archives, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me keep the lights on here in the Batcave. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
That was unexpected. unexpected, wasn't it? Ah well, note to self, need stronger test subjects. Seeing as how I'm feeling generous, I'll give you this one for free. Knock me off, I dare you. End this. Pull the plug. Stop me once and for all.
It is 2026, 15 years after Arkham City first descended upon the gaming world, and yet the shadow of the Bat still looms larger than almost any modern superhero title. While we've seen dozens of live service attempts and open-world clones since 2011, Rocksteady's masterpiece remains a singular achievement, a perfect storm of atmosphere, mechanics, and myth-making that feels as vital today as it did on launch night. The narrative of Arkham City is a masterclass in escalation. It abandons the claustrophobic hallways of the first game for a sprawling, walled-off section of Gotham slums, transformed into a lawless penal colony. You start not as a hero, but as Bruce Wayne, arrested for speaking truth to power and tossed into the belly of the beast by the enigmatic Hugo Strange. The brilliance of the writing lies in its dual threat structure. On one hand, you have the ticking clock of Protocol 10, a looming genocide orchestrated by Strange. On the other, you are physically tethered to the Joker through a desperate shared mortality. He is dying from the Titan formula that ravaged him in the first game, and he's made sure Batman is going down with him. This creates a relentless forward momentum. Every time you think you've cornered one villain, the city's chaotic ecosystem, populated by Penguin, Two-Face, and Ra's al Ghul, drags you deeper into the grime. In 2026, the performances of the late Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill carry an even heavier emotional weight, serving as the definitive, timeless versions of these characters. The magic of Arkham City doesn't lie in how big the map is, but in how heavy the air feels when you're gliding through it. In 2026, where open world often translates to vast, empty wilderness, Arkham City remains a masterclass in density and intentionality. The atmosphere, or ambientation, of Arkham City is built on the concept of a beautiful nightmare. By sealing off a massive chunk of Gotham's historical district and turning it into a prison, Rocksteady created a setting that feels both expansive and claustrophobic. The ambient soundscape is what truly sells the immersion. As you crouch on a rooftop, you aren't met with silence. You hear the constant, shivering chatter of inmates around burning barrels, the distant, muffled propaganda of Hugo Strange echoing from megaphones, and the haunting cry of a lone siren. The snow is more than a visual effect. It acts as a shroud that softens the harsh neon lights of the Iceberg Lounge and the Sionis steel mill, creating a perpetual state of wintry decay. It's a world that feels like it's holding its breath, waiting for a spark to set off a powder keg. The art direction of Arkham City is a love letter to the entire history of Batman, blended into a singular, cohesive aesthetic often described as Gothic industrial. The game flawlessly marries 19th century Gothic cathedrals with gritty, rusted 20th century industrialism. You'll find yourself grappling off a gargoyle that looks centuries old, only to land on a high-tech security gate. This layered history makes the city feel like a real place that has been lived in, built over, and eventually abandoned to the wolves. Rocksteady's character design avoids the trap of being too realistic or too cartoony. Batman is a hulking, tactical tank, but his silhouette remains classic. The villains are redesigned to fit this grimy world. The Penguin is a brutal mobster with a bottle-bottom monocle literally shoved into his eye socket, and the Joker is a decaying, sickly mess. The color palette favors deep blues, sickly greens, and harsh oranges, ensuring that even in the darkness, the world has a vibrant, sickly pop. While the game looks like a standard open-world title, its soul is a Metroidvania. This is the secret sauce of its design. The world is gated not by invisible walls, but by your own equipment. The level design is remarkably readable. You can look at a building and intuitively understand how to navigate it based on the gadgets you've unlocked. The transition from the open city into indoor levels, like the museum or the Wonder City ruins, allows for tighter, more scripted experiences that feel like classic Batman missions without losing the scale of the city. The game is designed around the Y-axis. Unlike most games where you navigate streets, Arkham City is played from the rooftops down. The design encourages you to stay high, observing your prey, and only dropping into the grime when necessary. This reinforces the power fantasy of being a predator. Every design choice feeds into the "Be the Batman" mantra. The map isn't cluttered with meaningless fluff. Every Riddler trophy is a mini-puzzle that tests your knowledge of the game's mechanics, and every side quest expands on a specific piece of Gotham lore. It is a rare example of a game where the world is exactly as large as it needs to be to tell its story. In short, the game design doesn't just give you a playground, it gives you a mission. It's a meticulously crafted clockwork world where every gear, from the art to the traversal, is clicking in perfect synchronization. The combat isn't about how fast you can mash the attack button. It's a high-stakes rhythm game. At its core is the combo meter. As you strike and counter without taking damage, Batman's speed and strength increase, his movements becoming more fluid and his strikes more devastating. Once that meter turns yellow, the game opens up. You aren't just punching. You're executing high-level tactical takedowns, snapping limbs, or using the weapon steel to dismantle a thug's firearm or shield. The genius lies in the enemy variety. Rocksteady ensures you can never go on autopilot. You might have a group of 20 thugs, but within that group, one has a stun baton, requiring you to vault over him. Another has a riot shield, requiring an aerial attack. And another is a ninja who can dodge your basic strikes. In 2026, we see many games try to replicate this target priority system, but Arkham City perfected the quick-fire gadgets. Being able to fire a remote electrical charge to make a giant thug swing his hammer wildly, or dropping a freeze blast to take a shotgun wielder out of the equation mid-combo, creates a level of improvised choreography that still feels unrivaled. While the combat is a dance, the Invisible Predator segments are a horror movie where you are the monster. These stealth sections aren't about staying hidden in the traditional sense. They are about terror management. When you pick off a sniper from a vantage point or pull a henchman through a wooden wall, the remaining enemies don't just stay on their path. They panic. They start shooting at shadows, screaming at their teammates to stay close, and eventually, they break. The gameplay here is a sandbox of how do I want to win? You can use the disruptor to jam their guns, the line launcher to kick someone off a ledge from the shadows, or the sonic batarang to lure a curious guard into a trap. It turns the environment into a musical instrument of pain, where you are the conductor. Movement in Arkham City is where the open world becomes a mechanic rather than just a setting. The grapnel boost, unlocked early through training AR challenges, changed everything. By hooking onto a ledge and slingshotting yourself over it, you convert vertical pull into horizontal speed. Combined with the dive bomb, the traversal becomes a constant exchange of potential and kinetic energy. You dive to gain terrifying speed, then pull up to glide blocks away, skimming just inches above the snowy streets. It feels tactile. You can almost feel the tension in the cape. In 2026, where fast travel is the norm, Arkham City is one of the few games where you'll actually prefer to travel manually, because the act of moving is itself a reward. Finally, there is the world's greatest detective aspect. Detective vision is more than just an X-ray mode, it's an analytical layer. Whether you're tracking the trajectory of a bullet from a bell tower or scanning blood spatters to identify a killer's DNA, these moments provide a necessary breather from the high-octane action. It forces you to slow down and look at the environment, noticing the storytelling hidden in the architecture. A Joker-themed shrine in a basement, or a hidden door leading to a secret society. The progression isn't just about getting stronger, it's about getting smarter. Every gadget you unlock, from the remote control Batarang, which you can steer through electricity to flip switches, to the cryptographic sequencer, opens up new ways to interact with a city that is constantly trying to kill you. Unlike many modern open worlds that feel like checklists of icons, Arkham City's progression feels earned. As you gain XP, you aren't just boosting stats, you are expanding your utility. You start as a powerhouse, but by the end, you are a walking arsenal. The side missions are integrated naturally. You'll hear a phone ringing in a distant alleyway that leads you to Zhash, or stumble upon a crime scene that kicks off a hunt for the identity thief. And then, there is the Riddler. While his 440 trophies can feel like a completionist's nightmare, they serve a purpose. They force you to master the physics of every gadget and the architecture of every building. The city itself is a puzzle box, and solving it makes you feel like the world's greatest detective. If there is one reason to play this game in 2026, it is the Mr. Freeze boss fight. In an era where most bosses are just bullet sponges, the confrontation with Victor Fries is a tactical puzzle. Freeze learns from you. If you take him down through a floor grate, he freezes the floor. If you use a silent takedown, he uses his sensors to track your footsteps. You are forced to use every stealth mechanic in your repertoire exactly once, turning the fight into a test of everything the game has taught you. It remains, arguably, the greatest boss encounter in the superhero genre. So, is Arkham City worth it today? Absolutely. Even with the advancements in ray tracing and haptic feedback found in 2026 hardware, Arkham City holds up because its art direction is impeccable. The gothic, decaying architecture and the thick, oppressive atmosphere of a snowy Gotham night don't need 8K textures to be immersive. If you are coming from modern titles like Spider-Man 2 or the newer DC entries, you might find the world smaller, but you will find it significantly denser. There is no filler here. Every alleyway has a story. Every building has a history. It is a reminder of a time when open world meant open possibilities, not just more space. Batman Arkham City isn't just a great superhero game. It is one of the most cohesive action-adventure experiences ever crafted. It captures the tragedy, the violence, and the heroism of the Dark Knight in a way that feels definitive. But I want to hear from you. Does Arkham City still sit at the top of your superhero rankings? Or has a modern title finally dethroned the Bat? Drop a comment below and let me know which boss fight still gives you PTSD. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button and subscribe for more retrospective reviews. Often regarded as the forgotten middle child of the Arkham franchise, Batman Arkham Origins 2013 is a game that has aged like a fine wine, eventually shedding its reputation as a copy-paste sequel to reveal itself as perhaps the most narratively ambitious entry in the series. Developed by WB Montréal while Rocksteady was busy with Arkham Knight, It is a prequel that trades the polish of its predecessors for a raw, psychological intensity. But before we dive in, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The setting is one of the game's greatest triumphs. Unlike the sprawling, neon-soaked chaos of Arkham City, Origins presents a Gotham gripped by a Christmas Eve blizzard. This isn't just an aesthetic choice, it's a thematic one. The thick snow and holiday decorations, often tattered or flickering, create a noir-mauve atmosphere that perfectly mirrors the cold, isolated existence of a young Bruce Wayne. To expand on the setting and narrative, we have to look at how Arkham Origins meticulously builds a bridge between a civilian Bruce Wayne and the mythic Dark Knight. It isn't just a prequel in name, it's a mechanical and environmental transformation. The map in Origins is a fascinating before and after picture of the franchise. It is roughly twice the size of Arkham City, split into two primary landmasses: North Gotham, the future Arkham City, and South Gotham, the new Gotham. The North Gotham area is a nostalgic trip for fans. You see the Bowery and Park Row before they were walled off and flooded. The Monarch Theater isn't a dilapidated ruin yet, and the GCPD headquarters is a functioning, albeit corrupt, hub rather than a fortress. Seeing these locations alive, with flickering streetlights and holiday decorations instead of barbed wire, adds a layer of tragedy to the later games. New Gotham District introduces a more vertical, modern skyline. It's dominated by the Royal Hotel, a massive skyscraper that serves as one of the game's best internal levels. The scale here feels more comic book accurate, with towering corporate monoliths that make Batman feel small and isolated against the blizzard. The Pioneer's Bridge is a massive suspension bridge that connects the two halves. While it acts as a bottleneck, it provides some of the game's most cinematic vistas. Gliding through the suspension cables while the snow whips around you captures the Year One aesthetic perfectly. The core narrative is a coming-of-age story for a man who thought he was already grown. At the start, Batman is a myth. The police shoot at him on sight, and the mob thinks he's a ghost. The arrival of the 8 assassins, ranging from the calculated Deathstroke to the fanatical Firefly, forces Bruce to realize that his crusade can't be won with just fists and gadgets. It requires allies. The game's most poignant writing is found in the relationship with Alfred. In this game, they argue, Alfred is terrified for Bruce's life, and Bruce is resentful of Alfred's interference. Their arc, culminating in a heart-wrenching moment at the Batcave, is the emotional spine of the game. The premise, 8 deadly assassins hunting Batman for a $50 million bounty on Christmas Eve, is a brilliant catalyst for a night of non-stop escalation. However, the game's true hook is its portrayal of the Joker and Bane. Troy Baker delivers a hauntingly accurate younger Mark Hamill, and the game explores the philosophy of the Batman-Joker dynamic with more depth than any other entry. The Red Hood sequence is a standout moment of interactive storytelling. For the first time in the series, Bane is not a mindless Titan brute. He is the tactical genius from the comics. The DLCs for Origins are more than just extra missions. They are vital chapters in the Origin theme. The most important one is Cold, Cold Heart, the Mr. Freeze story. Widely considered one of the best story DLCs in the series, this is a retelling of the classic Heart of Ice story from the animated series. It takes place on New Year's Eve, starting with a civilian Bruce Wayne at a gala in Wayne Manor. It introduces the XE, Extreme Environment Suit, a heavy, thermal-plated armor that changes your combat style. You use thermal batarangs to melt ice and heat-charged gloves to break through frozen obstacles. It's a tight, focused 3-hour experience that provides the definitive origin for the tragic Victor Fries. On the surface, the gameplay is identical to Arkham City, but there are subtle, aggressive tweaks. The Freeflow combat feels slightly faster, and the introduction of the martial artist enemy type, who can counter your counters, forces you to break your muscle memory. The most significant addition is the shock gloves. While some purists feel they break the game's difficulty by allowing you to punch through shields and armor, they serve as a satisfying power trip reward for maintaining a high combo. The detective reconstructions are the highlight of the gameplay evolution. Batman can now scrub through holographic timelines of a crime scene to find clues. It finally makes you feel like the world's greatest detective, rather than just the world's greatest brawler. If the Arkham series is a symphony of predator and prey, then Arkham Origins is its loudest, most aggressive movement. The gameplay doesn't just copy Arkham City, it tightens the screws, making the combat more punishing and the gadgets more central to your survival in a Gotham that hasn't yet learned to fear you. Free roaming in Origins feels distinct because of the dynamic weather system. The blizzard isn't just a visual filter, it affects visibility and atmosphere. For the first time, you have a fast travel system. You don't manually fly the Batwing, which is a missed opportunity for some. But you must unlock tower regions by hacking GCPD jammers, a classic open-world trope that fits Batman's need to reclaim the city's airwaves. The movement is snappier. Because the buildings in the new Gotham district are taller than those in the previous games, you spend more time in high-altitude glides, giving you a literal bird's-eye view of the holiday chaos below. The free-flow combat is back, but with a sharper edge. A young Batman fights with a raw, unrefined rage that shows in his animations. He hits harder and less cleanly than the veteran Batman of Arkham Knight. Since this is a prequel, the gadgets feel like beta versions of later tech, often more experimental and destructive. But the boss fights is where Origins objectively beats every other game in the franchise. The boss fights are not just hit the button when prompted. They are mechanical tests of everything you've learned. My favorite one is against Deathstroke. It's a pure test of the counter system. One mistimed button press results in a punishing combo from Slade. It feels like a genuine fight between equals. Unlike other games where the base is just a menu or a temporary story location, the Batcave in Origins is a fully realized home base. You can return here at any time to talk to Alfred. He provides contextual dialogue based on where you are in the story, or use the training map, a physical console where you can practice combat drills. Completing Origins to 100% is a monumental task, and frankly, where the game shows its rougher edges. Enigma's data packs are replacing the Riddler trophies. These are numerous and often require specific gadget upgrades. The Dark Knight challenges are a controversial progression system. Unlike other games where you can complete challenges at your leisure, Origins requires you to complete specific tiers in a specific order. If you miss a Predator challenge in a story room that you can't re-enter, you are effectively locked out of 100% until New Game Plus. Hunting down the remaining bounty hunters, like Shiva or Deadshot, provides some of the best side content, making the 100% journey feel narratively rewarding, even when the busy work gets tiring. Visually, the game uses the same engine as its predecessors, but leans into a more cinematic, high-contrast look. The constant snowfall is a technical marvel. Using NVIDIA Fios X on PC, the snow isn't just a particle effect, it is tessellated. As Batman walks or fights, His boots and cape leave persistent physical trails in the snow. This adds a tangible weight to the world that was missing in previous entries. The character designs are standout. Batman's suit is a bulky, tactical prototype that looks like it's barely holding together, and the assassin's designs are grounded yet iconic. The audio is the unsung hero. Christopher Drake's score is a masterpiece, blending the gothic tones of Danny Elfman with the industrial, driving percussion of Hans Zimmer, all peppered with dark Christmas chimes. It is the most Batman a soundtrack has ever sounded. Roger Craig Smith steps into Kevin Conroy's boots as a younger Batman, and he succeeds by bringing a gravelly, unrefined rage to the character that fits this era of Bruce's life perfectly. The world sounds wider than before. In the Predator rooms, you'll hear the wind howling through broken windows and the frantic, chattering teeth of terrified thugs. The sound of the shock gloves is intentionally over-engineered, a crackling, high-voltage hum that makes every punch feel like a thunderclap, reinforcing the game's focus on raw power. When we look back at the Arkham tetralogy, Origins is often the one left out of the definitive conversation. And frankly, that's a disservice to what WB Games Montreal achieved. It had the impossible task of following Arkham City, one of the greatest sequels in gaming history, while using a recycled engine and a new voice cast. But why is it so underrated? Much of the initial lukewarm reception came from sequel fatigue and technical bugs at launch. Critics at the time saw the map reuse and the similar combat as more of the same. But playing it today, away from the hype cycle of 2013, it's clear that Origins has the strongest narrative heart of the series. It doesn't just give us a Batman story, it gives us a Bruce Wayne character study. It's the only game that truly explores his arrogance, his loneliness, and his desperate need for a surrogate father in Alfred. For me, Origins succeeds because it feels the most human. In the Rocksteady trilogy, Batman is an elemental force, a god in a cape. In Origins, he's a man who gets frustrated, who makes mistakes, and who is genuinely terrified when Bane breathes down his neck. The Christmas setting isn't just window dressing. It's a juxtaposition of the warmth Bruce lost and the cold justice he's trying to build. It is a flawed masterpiece, but it's a masterpiece nonetheless. If you skipped this one because of the Blackgate stigma, you've missed the most emotional chapter of the Dark Knight's journey. What's your take on Arkham Origins? Do you think it has the best boss fights in the series? Or are you still a die-hard Arkham City purist? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the snowy streets of Gotham, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more retrospective reviews and gaming analysis.
There's a specific kind of melancholy that comes with the opening of Batman Arkham Knight. It doesn't start with a bang, it starts with a cremation. It tells you, right from the jump, that the rules of the previous two games have been tossed into the furnace. Rocksteady didn't just want to make another sequel, they wanted to build a eulogy for the Dark Knight. To understand what Batman Arkham Knight truly offers, you have to look at it as more than just a sequel. It is a kitchen sink game. Rocksteady's attempt to take every toy in the Batman toy box and give you a reason to play with it. It's a massive, multi-layered machine designed to make you feel like the most dangerous and the smartest person in the room. By the time we reached Night, the Arkham formula was already legendary. We'd mastered the Asylum, we'd survived the walled-off city, and now we were finally given the keys to the kingdom. Gotham is no longer a backdrop or a distant skyline. It is a rain-soaked, neon-drenched playground of architectural madness. And even years after its release, there's a strong argument to be made that this isn't just the best Batman game ever made, but one of the most cohesive, atmospheric experiences in the medium. The first thing that hits you, and I mean really hits you, is the presentation. Gotham is gorgeous in the most miserable way possible. Every surface is slick with rain, reflecting the sickly yellows and greens of Scarecrow's fear gas. The level of detail Rocksteady squeezed into this world is bordering on the obsessive. You can see the individual fibers of Bruce's suit, the way the mechanical plates shift when he breathes, and the subtle facial tics of a rogue's gallery that has never looked more terrifying. But it's not just about the wow factor of the graphics, it's the density. Previous games felt like a series of interconnected hubs, but Arkham Knight's Gotham feels like a living, breathing entity, even if the only people living in it are rioters and supervillains. The traversal here is the peak of the series. The way you can chain a grapple boost into a vertical climb, ejecting from the Batmobile like a human bullet, and then transitioning into a silent glide, it's the closest any of us will ever get to actually feeling like the world's greatest detective. When we talk about the combat, we're talking about Freeflow in its final, most polished form. At this point, the system is less of a button masher and more of a rhythm game played at 1,000 miles per hour. The additions here are subtle but transformative. You have environmental takedowns, slamming a thug's head into a fuse box or dropping a chandelier in a group of mercenaries. But the real depth lies in the dual play system. In certain story beats and challenges, you're not alone. You can swap instantly between Batman and allies like Robin, Nightwing, or Catwoman. They don't just fight beside you, they have unique animations and dual takedowns where you might launch a thug into the air as Batman and have Nightwing finish him off with an Eskrima stick to the jaw. It makes the Bat family feel like a coordinated unit for the first time in the series. Then there's the detective work. Rocksteady evolved the reconstruction mechanic from Arkham Origins. You'll find a crash site or crime scene and use your scanner to scrub through the timeline of the event. You're looking for the smallest clues, the trajectory of a bullet, the way a person's body hit the pavement to rebuild the truth. Then there's the fear multi-takedown. Some purists argued it made Batman too powerful, but narratively, it fits perfectly. This is Batman at his most desperate and most efficient. He's not playing with his food anymore. He's a predator who has reached his evolutionary peak. The introduction of medics, shield bearers, and larger brute enemies forces you to constantly recalibrate your strategy on the fly, making every encounter feel like a high-stakes puzzle of violence. We have to talk about it. The Batmobile. It's the most divisive element of the game. And honestly, I understand why. For many, the tank battles felt like they belonged in a different game. A tactical shooter grafted onto a stealth action masterpiece. When the Batmobile works, it's a power fantasy like no other. Tearing through concrete pillars and watching the city crumble around you as you chase down an APC is exhilarating. But the game does lean on it heavily. There are moments where you think, I could probably solve this with a batarang and some detective work. And the game says, no, use the winch. However, if you view the Batmobile not as a separate mechanic, but as an extension of Batman's sheer will, it starts to click. He's up against an army, you don't bring a knife to a gunfight, and you certainly don't bring a cape to a drone war. The Batmobile is Bruce's answer to the escalation of his enemies, even if the Riddler racing tracks feel a bit out of character for a genius billionaire. The real genius of Arkham Knight, though, isn't the combat or the car. It's the psychological warfare. The decision to have the Joker return, not as a physical threat, but as a hallucination living inside Bruce's blood, is one of the boldest narrative swings in superhero media. Mark Hamill's performance here is arguably his best in the series because he's no longer a boss to be defeated, he's a commentator. He's the personification of Bruce's deepest fears and failures. He spends the whole game whispering in your ear, mocking your choices, and reminding you that for all your gadgets and armor, you're just a broken man in a costume. This internal struggle gives the game an emotional weight that Asylum and City didn't quite reach. It's a story about legacy, the fear of being forgotten, and the terrifying realization that your greatest enemy might actually be the person staring back at you in the mirror. If you're playing the Premium or Complete Edition, the game grows significantly. Season of Infamy adds 4 major side quests featuring Killer Croc, Mr. Freeze, Mad Hatter, and Ra's al Ghul. The Mr. Freeze mission in particular provides a heart-wrenching emotional conclusion to his arc that was missing from the main game. Arkham episodes are standalone vignettes. You get to play as Batgirl in a prequel set at an abandoned amusement park, or take on the roles of Red Hood and Harley Quinn in their own unique combat-focused stories. Batman Arkham Knight is a messy, ambitious, stunningly beautiful conclusion. The Arkham Knight reveal was perhaps a bit predictable for longtime comic fans, and yes, the tank battles can overstay their welcome. But when you're standing on the peak of a gothic gargoyle watching the lightning arc across the sky while the Joker laughs in the back of your mind, none of that matters. This is the ultimate Batman simulator. It's a game that respects the mythos while having the courage to tear it down. Rocksteady didn't just give us a game. They gave us a definitive ending to a legend. And in an industry that loves to drag things out forever, there's something genuinely heroic about that. Batman Arkham Knight is a game of incredible density. It offers a massive open world that doesn't feel empty, a combat system that feels like a dance, and a story that isn't afraid to go to some very dark psychological places. It's the definitive Be the Batman simulator. Whether you're diving into the Season of Infamy or just gliding through the rain listening to the GCPD radio chatter, every inch of the game is built with a reverence for the source material that few other games have ever matched. Ultimately, Arkham Knight isn't just a game about winning a war, it's a game about the cost of wearing the cowl. Whether you're a fan of the tank combat or you just live for those silent takedowns in the rafters, there's no denying the heart Rocksteady poured into every rain-slicked alleyway of the city. It's a rare thing in this industry to get a good buy this definitive, and even years later the shadow of the bat still looms large over the genre. But I want to hear from you. Does the Batmobile still drive you crazy, or have you come to appreciate the mechanical chaos? And where does Knight sit in your personal ranking of the Arkham franchise? Drop a comment down below and let's get into it. I'll be down there lurking in the shadows of the comment section with you. If this deep dive helped you see Gotham in a new light, or if you just enjoyed the trip down memory lane, go ahead and hit that like button. It's the easiest way to support the channel and keep the lights on in our own little corner of the internet. And if you want to see more long-form reviews and deep dives into the games that define us, subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for sticking around to the end. I'll see you in the next one.